Okay, gotta sort out this energy. Let me actually do this. Pay a little visit to our guy. No, I want to reroll. 20 cryo. Okay, let's do this. Peak has tracked flux nodes in the low end, hub, and shipyard. They want the data extracted from all three. Peak loads the data into their decoding setup. I'll just be a moment. Don't leave, sleeper. You watch as Peak works on the flux data, the nodes unfolding like flowers now, giving in to Peak's increasingly sophisticated decoding protocols. Seeing data like this, as an image on a screen, it's an almost unrecognizable representation to you. It is nothing like swimming among nodes and threads. Despite this, Peak has proven themselves to be more than able to handle these complex data structures, even through this limited representational paradigm. Oh, is she? The bay door hisses, interrupting your flow of thoughts. You turn to see Eshi entering. Eshi. She looks up and meets your eye, but doesn't respond. As she stalks into the bay, head down, she looks tired and not in a mood to talk. How's the weapon hunt? Peak asks, without turning from their screen. Slow, unsuccessful, tedious, as she slams a bag down on a crate and hops up to sit on it. You still unpicking balls of yarn? With the sleeper's help, Peak smiles. They brought me some good stuff this cycle. Maybe they could help you find the weapons you are smuggling. It's clear that Eshi doesn't appreciate Peak's tone. Stay silent. Peak holds up a hand. Shh. They lean in towards the screen. Son of a... What? They hit it in the wake of the wave, Peak is whispering to themselves. It's alive. They lean back in their chair. As she crosses over to look at the screen. Alive? Well, it's growing. It's processing. It's quietly working away in the dark. Look. You cross over to the screen and stand beside Eshi. In it, you can see that Peak has all 4 nodes decoded, and the pattern of shadows from inside them sit on the screen like dark stains. Then you notice it, the movement. The thin threads cross from one stain to another. As you watch, you notice that the movement only ever happens in your peripheral vision, as if this thing, this shadow, knows it's being watched. This is how the other flux nodes appeared. Peak rubs their eyes. They weren't fluxed by the wave. They were corrupted after the fact. This thing, this shadow that entered in the wake of the wave, it corrupted them, but it made the corruption look like the result of the flux. It's a sleight of hand. Peak runs a hand through the air. The flux wave is so massive, so complex, that it opens up the systems to be attacked. It reconfigures, exposed systems. This shadow is broadcasting, implanted inside. The way from the Khan channel is a brute force way of hitting every system in Helion. Once the systems are vulnerable, Peak looks pale, their eyes reflect the screens. The flux isn't what is attacking the systems. It is the siege weapon, a Trojan horse. Then this thing takes over. Peak sits back in their chair, and it's already on the eye. Wait, as she rubs her forehead. You are telling me there's a Khan channel in this system? Shit, Peak isn't listening. This is bad. We have to take this to someone. Peak looks desperately at you. Helen. Is that wise? As she cuts in. Havenish hasn't exactly made good decisions lately. They are the station administrators, Eshi. Peak is desperate. They need to know. The argument rages between them, and as you watch them shouting, you feel sick. After a while they stop, running out of things to say, and unsettling silence descends on the bay. I need more time, Peak says quietly. I need to look at solutions, try to build a case, collect the evidence. We messed this up? They look down at their hands, as she goes to speak and then thinks better of it. Not a word, Sleeper. Peak meets your eye. Don't tell anyone until they are ready. They sigh. With the tension among the refugees, Sol won't be ready to hear this, and Helen and Havenish are still mired in some kind of crisis. Mired or mired?
Mired.
Mired.
Mired. To be involved in a difficult situation, especially for a long period of time. Okay. You are too twisted up in this Peak, as she says quietly. This is not our place. We don't know. Stop, Eshi. Peak slumps in their chair. Stop. You leave them like that, exhausted and troubled, and head back out into the Pilgrim Seed. When you close your eyes, you think of those shadows, that movement at the edge of your vision, something dark growing in the station, like a parasite. You feel sick, your vision blurs. What comes next? You stop in the corridor and take a breath, putting a hand on a rumbling metal wall. For now, the eye keeps spinning. For now. The eye is in some trouble. I'm in the briar. Ooh. Episode Refuge complete. The second part of the Flotilla story is complete. Episode Purge. The final episode will begin when the clock below is complete. Good luck. Oh no, I hope it doesn't force me. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, but is that it? Did I really do everything else? Board fabricator. Did I do everything for real? Home sweet home. Let's do this for old time's sake. Give her the good stuff. That one die. Spend that here. I think I'll just get as much scrap as I can. Nice. Sleeper, Peak is waiting for you in the corridor. It's time. Peak looks pale and disheveled, with heavy marks under their eyes and strands of hair sticking to their face. For what? Peak smiles weakly. Nice try, but we can't dodge this. Peak holds up a thumbnail-sized drive. All the data I have compiled on the flux event, the effects of the wave, and the structures that hide within it is on here. You look at the tiny drive, a casket of dark secrets. I've annotated it to the best of my ability. Anyone should be able to understand the threat, the potential in this. Peak size. It makes for grim reading. Without intervention, the eye will suffer a cascading collapse of systems, just like the colonies of Ember's moons. Intervention? You sure? Peak grimaces. As I can be, the evidence all points in one direction. Peak looks at the drive. This shadow in the flux, this protocol, is so hard to pin down. It adapts to any countermeasure I have tried to deploy. It is like trying to hold water in a cage. It slips straight through. I wonder if I will have to go fight this thing, sacrifice myself so everyone else can live. In the end, there has to be a way. He closes their hand around the drive. We need help, Sleeper. This is about everyone on this station. They sigh. You have to set up a meeting to tell someone you can do something about all this. Helen? Perhaps, Peak pauses. If anyone can protect the eye, it's Havenage, but their internal politics will make it hard for them to act. Will they even listen to us? Or perhaps, Peak adds thoughtfully, we've been thinking about this all wrong. Peak's eyes glint. Why make a choice when we can tell both of them? Why pick a side when the only side in this entire thing is the one we all need to take? Peak speaks as they think, their words barely keeping pace with their thoughts. We need to resist this together, or we will fail. We need everyone on board, Sleeper. Peak smiles. That is the only way. We send the data to both. You are right. Peak smiles. I'm glad you see it too. They look away. Another flux event is coming. I'm sure of it. And I'm not sure we can survive without help. Peak opens their hand and holds the drive for you to take. You need to do this, Sleeper. I can't. You know so? You know Helen. They trust you. To them, I'm just another spacer. But you are a part of this place. Hearing someone else say it hits you hard. You are part of the eye. Peak is right. But right now, that feels more like a weakness than a strength. I have set up a data relay at the cordon. It's neutral ground. Take the data and send it out to Havenage and the flotilla. Once they receive it, they will come. We can be sure of that. You will meet them there and take them through it all. No one could do a better job. They tuck a strand of hair behind their ear. Come with me. He's gonna say no. Peak pauses. I can't. It would only draw suspicion on you. Havenage want nothing to do with us, and so is paranoid at best. Peak tentatively puts a hand on your shoulder. Thank you, Sleeper. I know this is hard, but we have to move forward. We can't keep this to ourselves anymore. They step back, looking thin and pale in the harsh station light. Come talk to me once it's done. They slip away into the yard. Cordon. Sheesh, I have all of that? Peak's relay lies ready. This is it. This data is a ticking time bomb. Once it is sent, there is no going back. I'll probably try to get the best damn dice I can get. You know what? Nah. Let's use that. Let's get scrap. Scrap is important. We'll risk it. Hey, it's okay. Alright, what we're gonna do is we are going to we'll buy 2 meals. No, 1 meal. And then we're going to pop a pill. End the cycle. Yeah, that's a good healthy range of dice. And we're going to eat. Us to the room. Gonna eat here. Our main guy, Amphis. Chill dude. And then we are going to... Yeah, we're gonna go start it now. Before we start it, we're gonna pop one scrap. Okay, this is an amazing start. This is an amazing start, if you ask me. Oh, let me just do this. Okay. Da 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 da. Peaks relay pings a confirmation. The data is sent. Now all you can do is wait for the response. With the data sent, the only thing to do is wait. As you do, you imagine Helen receiving the data, perhaps in the middle of some Havenage council meeting. You think of her trembling hands as she slips out of the room to read it. Her reaction, you can't predict. You imagine Sol too, one of his crew finding him in some corner of the Pilgrim Seed, overseeing the modifications that will turn it into an ark. Those sharp eyes scanning the data, looking for a way to proceed. The wait draws out, and to pass the time, you watch the activity beyond the edge of the eye. The scrap shuttles pulling components from the now abandoned cordon, and the supply skiffs making runs between the flotilla ships. It isn't long before you hear the chirping of one of Helen's now familiar drones approaching the viewing platform, and then Helen herself strides into the room. Where did you get this, Sleeper? Helen holds up a slate scrolling with streams of flux data as she enters. I need to know your source. A friend. You seem to have a lot of friends, Sleeper. Helen raises an eyebrow. But I need this data authenticated. I can't just... She pauses and pushes her hair back out of her face. This is a lot to take in. A shadow protocol inside the flux? The system's can channels starting up? A total collapse of the eye? She rubs her forehead. If I bring this to the council, they'll... She turns away. Stay silent. Do you know what has been happening with Havenage, Sleeper? She looks away, out at the flotilla. Since the refuge ships started arriving, things have changed. It's chaos. No one can settle on a single issue. There is diversion at every vote. But in the diversion, only one group prospers, the hardliners, because each councillor gets tired of the arguments, gets tired of compromise. They become more attracted to the easy answers. The flotilla is to blame. The refugees are opportunists. The eye must be defended. She shakes her head. And now you are telling me they brought something to the eye that will cause its collapse? They didn't bring it. It doesn't matter, Sleeper. That is all the councillors will hear. She closes her eyes, a hand to her temple. Many of them already presume that the refugees are somehow to blame. Did someone say refugees? Sol clanks into the docking bay, grinning at the situation. Speak of the devil, and well, here I am. His suit hisses as he settles on his cane. Helen glances between the two of you, uncertain if she has been drawn into some elaborate plan. Sol holds out a hand to her. So, he nods. I believe we have spoken remotely while the cordon was still up. I sent both of you the data. We are all allies here. Cell raises an eyebrow. That seems a little presumptuous, doesn't it? I trust you, Sleeper, but Havenage have been the ones seeking to hold us without charge or good reason. I'm not Havenage, Helen blurts out, then corrects herself. What I mean to say is no one person represents Havenage. That's the idea. I did not support the cordon. I did not support your quarantine. So nods. Well then, So glances at you. Anyone mind if I get myself up to speed here? He pauses, but you get the feeling he isn't expecting an answer. 1. The flux events, the very same destabilizing waves that collapsed the colonies on the moons of Ember, have reached this station. He holds a stubby finger. 2. According to data Sleeper provided, these events are acting as a cover for some kind of intrusive protocol which is causing the real damage. A second finger joins the first. 3. This shadow protocol will do the very same thing it did to Ember's Song, Step, and Hearth, and quickly. In short, it'll shut down everything, keeping this place alive. A third finger pops up. 4. And this is my favorite. We have no idea who or what is doing this, and why. Cell's final finger joins the other 3. Is that about the total of it all? There's also another flux event coming. Of course there is, Cell smiles thinly. Sounds, Helen pauses, searching for words. Intimidating. Helen turns to Cell. Did you manage to put up any kind of resistance on Ember's Hearth? Cell shakes his head. That's why we are here. The Pilgrim Seed was the biggest ship to make it out unscathed. He pauses. I suppose we didn't have this data. We didn't know what was eating up the systems. We all thought it was the flux. Helen looks at you. And I imagine you, Sleeper, whoever helped you uncover this, might be able to figure out a countermeasure. I don't know. Helen glances away. That's okay. We can try. If you'll forgive me, Cell cuts in. Part of why I was able to save as many as I could on Ember's Hearth was that I gave up hope early. Cell shifts his weight, his suit hissing. There were endless strategy meets, system reboots, tests, and trials, but I just got on with working on the Pilgrim Seed, with getting people on board. So when the second, and the third, and the rest of the flux events hit, we were ready to go. So if I can offer you some advice, miss not Havenage. It is to give up on that line of thought you have, that hope, and to start the evacuation now. Right this cycle. Sol looks out of the observation deck towards the Pilgrim Seed. I've already started the process of converting the remaining volume of the Pilgrim Seed for human habitation. With Havenage's resources, I dare say we could finish the job with time to spare. Sol scratches at his beard. I know it's hard. I know it's sudden, but you have to give up hope. We have to run. There'll be no heroes here, just those that keep living and those that don't. Helen listens in silence, making calculations, but she looks out at the bulk of the Pilgrim Seed which, despite all its vastness, is dwarfed by the eye as a whole. Something flickers in her eyes. She opens her mouth to speak. She stops, frozen. Let me think. Helen rubs her temple. I need a moment. Helen paces, and as you watch her, you realize how young she is, and how lost she is in the systems and protocols she has to navigate. You can almost see the strings and ties that bind her, glinting like webs in the wide space of the observation platform. We purge the shadow protocol. Helen stops pacing. But with what resources? The data you sent me? This thing is a shadow, uncontrollable, untraceable. Perhaps with the full contingent of Havenish Systems Department, but that would require hundreds of work orders to be overlooked, maintenance schedules abandoned. She looks away. Getting that through the council, would that even be possible? She glances at So, who is patiently watching, patiently listening. We do it without them. Impossible. Helen looks at the slate again. I will take this to the council, force them to listen, force them to act. You both jump as someone loudly clears their throat nearby. Is it our guy? It could be Feng. If it's not Peak, it could be Feng. Which is probably Peak. You both jump as someone loudly clears their throat. Your eyes jump to the dark entryway that Helen emerged from just minutes ago. Who is this? Kemp. Dude is eating good. What a cozy little meeting this is. A man steps from the shadows dressed as the same style of Havenage overalls as Helen. And I must say, that is some very incendiary rhetoric you are using, Councillor Helen. You glance at Helen, and her face drops immediately. Kemp? She curses under her breath. So shifts his weight on his cane, but otherwise remains still, like a casual observer. Plotting against Havenage with an interloper, he gestures at So. Everyone will be so disappointed. Kemp smiles a bright smile. Some of the councillors had such high hopes for our youngest member. His smile drops. I, of course, never let novelty distract from the importance of experience. Helen stares daggers at Kemp. Enough of this petty shit, Kemp. You need to see this. She holds out her slate with an outstretched arm. The games are over. No more point scoring. No more lobbying. You and your hardliners need to stop. This is something real. Kemp calmly takes the slate and prods the screen, scrolling through the flux data. His face betrays nothing, but you see some complex calculation flickering in his sharp eyes. Kemp lowers the slate slowly and smiles at Helen. And what do you think this shows? Helen frowns. Don't play games. You can read. The flux is a carrier signal for some shadow protocol, most likely corporate in nature. Maybe it's Solheim re-emerging to claim their station. Maybe it's a takeover, but either way, the station is under threat. You are right about that, but the rest? Conjecture? Kemp rubs his chin. What we have is a virus in our systems which emerged precisely when the flotilla arrived. In fact, it times in perfectly with the mysterious event that freed them. So what I see is a hostile cyber warfare attack instigated by descendants that fled Ember's moons after committing terrorist attacks on their own soil. Kemp's face darkens. This guy's a jerk. That is the order of the facts. Nothing more and nothing less. Facts I'll be happy to present to the council. Kemp tightens his grip on the slate. Helen laughs. You think that's the only copy of that data? You sanctimonious shit. No, I don't, Kemp smiles. But who do you think they will listen to, Helen? Especially after I tell everyone about this little clandestine meeting? What's that say? Spelled it wrong.
Clandestine.
Clandestine. Planned or done in secret, especially describing something that is not officially allowed. Alright, chill, Kemp. You couldn't win power by Havenage's systems, by our laws, so you resort to this. Kemp shakes his head. The law is with me. It is as simple as that. He gestures, and out of the shadows, two Havenage security officers appear. Now, no need for that, Sol suddenly speaks up. His silence had meant Kemp had stopped paying attention to him, but now you notice he has backup of his own. A group of his crew stand at the edges of the room. They are carrying long, boxy guns. You've never seen anything like them. On the eye, I wonder if it's our girls' weapons. Glossy, XPR logos glint along their barrels. These are Eshi's guns. Kemp freezes, and the officers hesitate, holding back in the doorway. Be careful there, outsider, he stutters. Kill me, and Havenage will never forget. Sel waves a hand at him. No one is killing anyone, so let's calm down. Sel scratches his beard. But I am going to have to ask you to leave. Helen glances at him, and he gives her a gentle nod. And you'll leave your colleague here with me. He raises an eyebrow. We haven't finished our conversation. Kemp laughs and shakes his head. You are finished, Helen. The council will never allow you back after this. Then he turns and walks out of the observation deck, taking his officers with him. Did he leave the slate too? You all pause to catch your breath. Helen looks ready to collapse. Sol flexes inside his suit, nodding at his crew to check that Kemp has fully retreated. Sol wrenches part of his suit back into place, grimacing. Your friends leave a lot to be desired. He shoots a glance at Helen. Seems like support for the evacuation might be a hard ask. Helen doesn't respond. She stares out at the pilgrim seed once more, trying to process what's in front of her. She sighs and turns back to you both. I won't call for an evacuation. She looks at Sol. Maybe that is a fatal mistake, but I can't do it. I understand. But she pauses. I won't block it either. If people want to leave, Havenage will let them. That is what I will propose to the council. She sighs. If they let me speak. You have to try. You have to try. You have to do more. You have to do more. Easier said than done, Sleeper, she sighs. She nods at you, and turns to leave. So is quiet. He scratches at his beard. Good luck. He offers to the departing Helen, but she does not respond. He leans on his cane. I'll be honest with you, Sleeper. None of this changes anything for me. The Pilgrim Seed will be going in a handful of cycles, whether Havenage wants it or not. How long? Sel grimaces. Honestly, as soon as we are ready. I'm not eager to run down the clock to the last cycle. Sel puts a hand on your shoulder. There's a berth for you, and for any you can gather, Sleeper. That much I owe you. And Helen? I wouldn't hold out much hope of her coming around, Sleeper. She's too tied up in all this. It won't let her leave even if she wants to. He eyes you. Hell, I'd say the same about you, but you have a habit of proving me wrong. My crew will take me from here. Don't you worry. Sol straightens up. Oh, and thank you, Sleeper, for sending the data. I appreciate the extra info, and I'll see if it can help us shore up the Pilgrim Seed against any future flux events. If we had had you back on Ember's hearth, he pauses, suddenly losing his appetite for discussing the past. Sol sighs. Of course. We are going to need all the help we can get. If you can spare some time, come to the Pilgrim Seed. Help me get it ready. Bring others. There's a future to be earned here, cycle by cycle. We will be leaving as soon as we are able. If you want to help us get there faster, well, you'd be welcome. He meets your eye. Imagine if they make me choose like 3 people out of 6 or 5. That would be crazy. Like the people that I'm friends with or something. But I don't know how much people I know is left. can kind of think of 3 right now. No, I can think of more. Soul grimaces. Well, he pauses. Just don't keep me waiting. And he limps off towards his waiting crew. You pause for a moment to let your thoughts catch up. Peak will want to hear about all this. They should be your first port of call. Is no timer yet, but we're still locked in here. As you enter the climbing briar, you immediately have to jump aside as Eshi, lugging a massive crate across the cargo bay, pushes past you, grunting an apology as she does. Reminds me of when we met, Eshi sniffs and doesn't look back. As you turn back to the bay, Peak pushes fast too. Sorry, Sleeper, just a second. Peak rushes to catch up with Eshi. Put that down, please, Eshi, but she doesn't respond to their urging. We can't leave, not yet. Peak puts a hand on her shoulder. Please, I'm the only one here who can... The crate drops, the sound of his impact echoing around the bay like thunder. Can do what, Peak? Her eyes are burning with anger. Save this place? Are you still that naive? We are running, Peak. We are running because this thing cannot be stopped. It couldn't be stopped at XPR, our home. Why would we stay to stop it here? Because we can, Eshi. We can give these people a chance. Peak pleads with her. Like they gave the refugees a chance? Eshi shakes her head. No, Peak. This is not on us. We barely made it out of XPR. I worked for years to escape, and now you want to throw it all away? I left everything behind. My mother, my friends, to take you out of that place. She clenches her jaw. She turns and slams her hand into the crate, breathing hard. We go. That's the end of it. Peak turns away. You feel unsure what to do, but you know now is not the time for outside arguments. This is between them. Peak crosses the bay back towards you. I'm sorry you had to see that, Sleeper. They sigh. Let's talk upstairs. Peak leads you to the entry ladder, taking you up out of the bay and into the habitation level of the ship. You follow them through the tight corridors, noticing the handwritten notes, the clutter, the repairs, the signs of a home. Here, sit. Peak gestures to the broad mess table with curved couches, and you slide in on one side. Peak sits opposite. They brush their hair out of their eyes and take a deep breath. So how did it go? What did they say? I've been waiting all cycle. Tell them about camp. Peak looks increasingly troubled as you tell them about the hardline counselor Kemp's sudden appearance. Damn, then Helen's going to have problems of her own to deal with. Peak shakes their head. Looks like we won't be able to count on anything from Havenage. They pause. What stopped Kemp from arresting her? Tell them about the guns. Peak rolls their eyes. Of course. Those are the guns Eshi managed to smuggle through to the refugees. The ones she didn't tell us about. Peak sighs. Another thing that's on us. What's on us? Eshi is standing quietly in the doorway listening. You don't know how long she has been there for. Peak looks up at her with tired eyes. Sleeper found the weapons you smuggled from XPR. Eshi freezes. She glances between you and Peak as if this might be some elaborate joke. The flotilla used them? As she moves out of the doorway and enters the room. What happened? Peak interrupts. Be thankful that they didn't. They used them as a threat, that is all. Good, as she folds her arms. You get the feeling that she knows Peak will not approve. Peak goes to speak, and then decides to take the bait. They glance at you. I'm sure you've heard enough of us arguing this cycle, Sleeper. Peak shoots a look at Eshi. But our introduction of those weapons into the equation are just another reason why we cannot simply run away. Eshi looks away, but says nothing. She surely knows they cannot absolve themselves of responsibility here. So what is motivating her? You realize that she might still be trying to protect Peak even from themselves. Suddenly, a shrill beeping fills the room, and Peak pulls out their slate to silence it. But as they do, they freeze, their finger hovering above the screen, the beeping continuing its insistent pulse. What? Peak doesn't seem to hear you. They blink with glazed eyes at the slate. Then they let out a long exhale and tap the screen. The bleeping shuts off, leaving a ringing silence behind. As she frowns at Peak, planning to explain, 12 cycles. Peak looks vacantly up at you both. 12 cycles until the next flux event. They shake their head. I have been using the arrays on the Briar to look towards the center of the system, to approximately where the CAN channel should be. Just this moment, they detected a signal from the inner system. Given the distance and pattern of previous flux events, we have 12 cycles before it reaches the eye. The silence in the room is deafening. 12 cycles, that's it, before a second wave hits this place. Peak interrupts your thoughts. We start now, that's the end of it. Peak stands up to face Eshi. You want to take the Briar and run, Eshi? That's on you, but I won't. They take a deep breath. I'll be here, sleeper, for every cycle it takes, trying to find a solution. I'll need your help. Their eyes meet yours, and you see a wild desperation flickering there. We will find something. The sooner we have a plan, the better. If it takes us 12 cycles to fix this thing, it'll be too late. Peak's eyes flash with determination. They reach for a slate and pass it to you, so we can keep in touch. You pocket the thin handheld terminal. And Eshi? Peak starts, but she is gone, storming down the corridors of the ship on the path to who knows where. You know from experience that it is impossible to outrun your fears, but you get a sense that Eshi will try anyway. Peak rubs their red eyes, staring after Eshi. Maybe it'll take a moment before we start. Maybe I'll take a moment before we start. They smile weakly, tears of exhaustion gathering in their eyes. See you back here soon, okay? And you slip from the room into the corridor, Peak's quiet sobs somehow carrying through the ship behind you as you live. Oh. Sheesh, it's about to go down. Devise a strategy. Peak is tirelessly analyzing the flux data and testing countermeasures on Shadow Protocol. They need your help. Ooh, so basically, it's a race. I wonder if they're gonna give me a crazy decision to make at the end, though. That's what I'm worried about. A desperate plan. Peak is desperately looking for a way to combat both the coming flux event and the Shadow Protocol infecting the station. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy looking right now. Let's go ahead and just throw in our best dice. A desperate plan. You show the latest data to Peak and their eyes light up. They have seen something, but what is it? Peak beckons you over the wide mess table where they have set up a terminal. The hours of bleary-eyed work have left you both drained, and Peak looks ready to collapse. You slide onto the curved couch beside them, something dark and malevolent filling their screen like an oil stain. The Shadow Protocol? Not quite. Peak's eyes seem to glitter in the screen light. This isn't what you think, sleeper, not by a long shot. You look again at the screen, leaning in close to the dark, curved shape to see its texture. You see whirls and currents like a river, a dark flow unlike the Shadow Protocol's dark tangle. You know exactly what it is. You have swum in this river, almost drowned in its shifting flow. It is the Gardener's chorus, the dark cloud which blankets the Greenway's networks, the bioorganic morass of a malfunctioning protocol, grown vast and strange. The Gardener. Pete glances at you. How do you... They pause. Have you met them? I have. Pete shakes their head. Incredible. Then perhaps you won't be surprised by what I am about to propose. Pete meets your eye. Everything I have tried to do to contain the Shadow Protocol has been a failure. It slips through any containment, absorbs any countermeasure. That, unfortunately, is an unavoidable fact. And yet, the eye still spins. The Shadow Protocol is being slowed, partially contained. It has spread across the station, as we have seen, but in reduced pockets, in fragments. So I started to look outside of our test cases, outside of these fragments we have been poking and prodding into our little lab. Peak smiles, and look what I found. Peak taps a key on their terminal, and you realize the screen is showing a recording of the data flow inside the eye's networks, sampled from hundreds of points around the Greenway. You watch as a subtle shift occurs at the edge of the flowing dark curve that blankets the Greenway. Something spreading like an ink stain, somehow darker than black. It bleeds across the Shadow Protocol. Now watch. Peak eagerly points at the screen. You see something strange, a fizzing at the edge of the shadow, a sparking, and then it is gone. And beneath, for a moment, a millisecond, you see into the networks of the Greenway. You are reminded of an image you had forgotten, of pulling a plant from its pot and seeing a bone, white root ball where you expected to see dark soil. The white connections, rife like worms. And then it is gone, the dark flow closing up as quickly as it opened. What did I just see? Hope peaks eyes, wrapped up in something terrible. You think back to your meeting with the Gardener, to that sense of something old and old and inhumane to its core. Peak excitedly starts to explain. This is the only chance we have, only countermeasure we have seen. In the moment it opened, I detected something, a centralized intelligence with the local ID, Gardener. This protocol, this system, whatever it is, can protect its network from the Shadow Protocol. But if it stays in the Greenway, the eye will still fall. The station systems are too exposed. To spread across the hub, the shipyards, the spokes, Peak glances away. Only way is to break it open, to spread the entity's network, access it, expand it somehow. Peak pauses. You want to let the Gardener out. Peak stands up and walks away a little. They lean against the countertop, their head hanging so low that their long hair touches the work surface. You hear them breathing deeply. I don't know, sleeper. They lift their head. I really don't know. It's a chance. Maybe. They shake their head. You know as well as Peak that this is it. You know it because over the past cycles you have run every simulation, every possibility, you could think of and still come up with nothing. You have stared a hole into your screen and dreamt of that black shadow creeping in at the edges of your vision. Peak recognizes the look in your eyes, the potent cocktail of resignation and anger. Let's say we do this, Peak begins, eyeing you carefully. What do we need? They begin to answer their own question, thinking out loud. I suppose we need to do two things. Find a way to limit or control the gardener's spread, and then reconnect the greenway. Peak starts pacing. The idea is coming quickly now. Controlling the spread means preparing the station. Limit the gardener's network to key systems. We don't want it taking everything. We just need it to protect the station's core functionality. Then, we need to reconnect the greenway, hook it back up to the main line of the network. Those systems we prepared, they should connect. The gardener will spread along the paths we prepared. At least, this is my theory. Peak grimaces. But if we don't prepare correctly, the gardener might not spread, or it might spread to everything. Peak closes their eyes, and after that, things might get worse. It can't be worse than a total collapse. Don't say it, sleeper. Peak sits back at the terminal and brings up the map of the eye. Rotational control at the hub, life support at the free spoke, power routing at the Havenage shipyards. They stamp at the map with each one, marking them in red. Then there's the central core. As I understand it, is somewhere on the rim. I'd need to find it. They push their hair out of their face. We seed the gardener in all these places, Peak pauses. But how are we going to do that? Oof. Transplant the greenway? Peak smiles. Of course, the gardener needs plants to care for. That is what their protocol dictates. They must have been part of the farming management systems of the Eye back when Solheim built it. We seed the greenway plants into those systems, and the gardener will seek them out, protect them. Peak stares at the map of the Eye. It's a wild idea, but it could work. But, they pause. We'll need a way into those systems. Havenage have most of them locked down for safety purposes. We can't just walk in. I know a guy. Peak raises an eyebrow. Someone in the Havenage Systems team? You nod. After everything he dragged you through, you feel like Fang still owes you. Time to pay him a visit. Okay, well, Peak looks at you sideways. I guess we should pay him a visit. Lead the way. You both leave the ship, carried forward by the excitement of the plan and an eagerness to not look at the details too closely. You push any lingering questions to the back of your mind. Time to head to Fang's Bay. Yeah, Fang's got our backs for sure. And he's gonna listen. That's the guy to go to. And he knows how to make these ripper worms. Where is Fang? Where does Fang live now? Fang's Bay.